Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciated you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me. Really appreciate that. Guys, today I sort of want to have an extensive conversation on what it is that makes a bass hit one particular lure and not another. In terms of like the lures can look the same, very same category, like, what makes them hit one jerkbait better than another, what makes them hit one crankbait better than another, if they look the same. Like, say for example, if you got a square bill crankbait that is the same size, the same lip on it, why is one work better than another? And I've got some, I think it's even more than a theory. I've got some conclusive evidence that I've sort of compiled over decades and decades of fishing on why bass bite a lure, why they prefer certain lures over other. So I think by the end of this video, it's going to add up some good information for you guys. Also, guys, real quick, I'd just like to invite everybody out there to please consider subscribing here at Intuitive Angling. It's free and easy. If you subscribe and hit that notification button, you'll never miss a video. It's a good way to support the channel, as well as using all the links we put in the description there, so much appreciated. Okay guys, all you guys that have been with the channel for a while, you've heard me talk about this a little bit over the past several years, and I'll hold up like a cheap looking crankbait, like a cheap Bandit crankbait that's like a pretty low cost crankbait, and I'll talk about why it's such a bass catcher. Then you'll put another really good looking crankbait that costs more next to it, that looks almost identical, and it doesn't catch that many fish. Same with like worms or different types of chatterbaits or spinnerbaits or whatever it is on there. Now, one of the things about this, I was like a lot of fishermen starting out. It's like when you looked at a lure, you could pretty much tell, or you thought you could tell, if it was going to be a good fish catcher. And this was sort of something that I realized was not true back in the early 1980s, when Bagley made these things called a small fry. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, Bagley, they were the first company out there to make a realistic looking crankbait. The ones that had they looked like a real fish. They had like a fish foil pattern on them. And before, our crankbaits or whatever we had was just like, chartreuse or white or pearl or something like that, yellow. We didn't have any type of natural attention to detail. So when I first saw these small fry crankbaits, that they had them they looked exactly like a bluegill, the natural looking lure that I've ever seen, way ahead of their time. Everybody thought they were just fish were gonna bite them and eat them up. Guys, I bought some of them like everybody else. I couldn't catch a fish on them. There was, I couldn't believe it. It's like I would go out like to Grand Lake, where I would normally catch them like on a Model A bomber or, some type of a cheaper crankbait. And, I knew they were biting crankbaits, and I'd tie this natural looking small fry on, which was also a crankbait, and never catch a fish on it. And I just thought it was something about that one particular lure, but it showed me over the years that bass do not bite a lure based solely upon the way it looks. I don't care what lure category it is. It doesn't matter if it's a jig or a chatterbait or spinnerbait or whatever. There's other elements involved to that lure that triggers the strike that sometimes we don't quite understand what that is. Now, I'll go back to this example with like the Bandit crankbait, or like the Megabass Super Z2 crankbait, or the Wiggle Wart. Those are three crankbaits right there that, guys, I have caught thousands of fish on Wiggle Warts and that Megabass Super Z2 and the Bandit crankbait, the Bandit 200. And there's tons of other lures out there that look the same that I have also tried and not done any good on it. It made me come to a conclusion on most, we'll talk about hard baits here first. On most hard baits, it's not necessarily the way the bait looks. It's not necessarily the way that the bait looks in the water, the way it comes through the water, but there's a variable there in terms of what is attractive to the fish that we don't quite understand. And a lot of times that variable, it's a combination of more than one thing that just happens to fall into place. Take those three crankbaits I mentioned, the Wiggle Wart, the Super Z2, and the Bandit 200. There's something about the profile and the vertical height of it, and the length, and the lip design, and the lip angle, and the eye tie placement, everything about it that comes together, the sound, the water displacement that it has, all of those elements come together to attract fish. They for whatever reason, it triggers those fish to bite from whatever instinct that they have, whether it be it's anger, curiosity, competition, if they're hungry, reaction, whatever it may be. But there's certain elements that certain lures have that simply the bass prefer, and you don't really know what that is, because I've thrown a bunch of different lures out there that they look really good, they look really natural, and you run them in the water or you run them in a swimming pool or something, and they look great coming through the water, but you can't catch a fish on them for whatever reason it is. And I've even had some lures out there that they don't look quite as good as other lures, and they catch more fish than those lures that you think that would work good. I'll give you guys another prime example. If you let's take a square bill crankbait. Now, some square bill crankbaits that you have out there have a real wide wobble, and they got lots of action to them. And then you'll take one like that Megabass S crank. The S crank, it doesn't have as much side to side wobble. It's got more of a tighter wobble. But if you take like a regular square bill that most everybody throws, whatever, Lucky Craft or Strike King or whatever, that comes through the water like really good looking, and then you take something like that S crank that you run it right past the same thing and it doesn't look like it has much action, but I catch 10 times more fish on that S crank than I do any other square bill that I use. Again, it's one of those things that our perception of what we think looks good is not the same perception of what generates a strike or what makes a fish commit to a lure and to actually bite it. It's the same thing with the jerk bait. It's the same thing with the swim bait. It's the same thing with the glide bait. Every lure out there, I don't care what it is, it can be a jig, a shaky head, any lure that you have, it's not just one characteristic or one element of that particular lure that makes the fish bite it. You've got to have a combination of those things, and that combination can be a lot of different things. Again, it can be the wobble, the water displacement it has, the noise that it makes, the amount of vibration that it has, just the color of it. It could be a lot of different factors that roll into place on it. So from that standpoint, a lot of times that you just have to experiment to see what works the best. But that's why I have gotten like maybe a dozen lures throughout the course of my career that they're special. There's something really special about those lures that simply catch a lot of fish, just the way that they are. And it could be like the Megabass version 110 jerkbait that you fish. It could be like the chatterbait lure out there. It could be certain jigs. It can be, like the rib swim baits. There's certain lures that the fish just like them better than others, even though other lures just look just like them. So as far as, how this is going to benefit you as an angler, it's like, it's almost like it's more of an awareness than anything else. It's like, it's not going to allow you to like look at a lure and say, this is going to work and this is not going to work. It's basically, you have to fish it to see. The only way that you can tell if a lure, whether it be a new lure or whatever you're using, the only way you can tell how good it is if you actually go out there and fish it in different situations, different conditions, different times of the year, and then you can sort of get a gauge on how effective that particular lure is. But it's just another one of those things about bass. They're so unpredictable and they're so mysterious, and we try to define them and we try to understand them, and we try to get in their minds a little bit about what they want, but we're never going to be able to do that fully, and you never want to. You never want to know everything about a bass, because once you do that, it's like, I talk about this all the time, it's just like opening your Christmas presents the day before Christmas. There's something that takes away that special part of Christmas by already having your packages open, the day or 2 days before Christmas. So just, let sort of be at peace with that a little bit. If you don't understand everything about bass, or you're having a hard time figuring it out, or you think you should be learning faster than what you have, you don't need to do that. Just keep that mystery alive, keep that magic and that unknown alive. That's the PowerPoint of fishing. So anyway, just a few random thoughts on that, just some stuff I came up with, and hope you guys are well. We'll talk later.